What's going on, everybody? Just want to let you know our sponsors going forward for our future episodes. We are sponsored by Red Clover Coffee. So if you go to redclovercoffee.com and type in code IWP at checkout, you'll save 10% site-wide. Also, we are sponsored by Performance Supplements. So if you go over to performancesup.com and type in code IWP at checkout, you'll save 15% site-wide. And our third sponsor is we are sponsored by Crunch Fitness up here in Northern California. Thank you, guys. What's going on, everybody? This episode, I'm going to talk about John Pelletier. Now, bear with me. There's going to be some things that I may forget, or some things that I may have already touched base on, or some things that you already know about. But I wanted to make this episode because I don't want people to forget what's going on. Because what happens in the news is what I call it's the flavor of the month. Something tragic happens or a certain event happens, and then 30 days later, another world event pops up or something, somewhere in a state or whatever the case may be, and then people forget about what previously happened. So I want to continue to talk about this, and with John Pelletier being so high up on the pedestal right now with everybody else, in the sense of people are disliking him, where he came from, how he handled a certain previous situation with the Vegas shooting. So I'm going to go ahead and get into this. I'm going to kind of bounce around in between things, so try to stay along with me, okay? So I believe he's 51 years old. He did 22 years, I want to say, in Vegas as a police chief out there. And, the number one thing that people are probably going to ask about are, where are the numbers to the children? Where, why hasn't the administration said anything about it? Well, I promise you, not only myself, but others are trying to get that answer for you guys. I mean, it's still wild to me, and I don't understand why nobody has come forth and said anything, or why the fact why parents haven't essentially reached out. Now, there are some things floating around between locals that have contacted me saying that, there's a lot of families that perished, which is true. They're also stating that, they have a ton of PTSD. They're extremely stressed out. They're trying to work, get their kids into school, register their kids across the school administrations. Excuse me. So I'm trying to find out. I mean, I can only ask so many locals, and only so many locals can know. There's a lot of silencing going on. I mean, you guys have to understand too, they're going against their First Amendment rights out there. They banned media within a 12-mile radius in a circle around Lahaina. Nobody can get in. They're not essentially controlling the airspace, but if you get caught flying a drone, I know people are getting arrested. You can't stop. You can't take pictures. You got to just drive past it. They have a wall up now. And then with John Pelletier, with the I'm going to back up a little bit. John Pelletier with the Vegas shooting in 2017 that killed 58 people, and then years later, people ended up passing away from that tragic mass shooting. They have the question as, why did Maui seek him out? Why did Maui say he was such a good fit for the role? Well, a couple locals reached out to me, and they said that there was a ton of, conspiracy themselves, and how other locals that were trying to hire into that chief of police position weren't fit. They were corrupt. They said that they were worse than what Pelletier was. I can't say anything on that matter because I don't live there, so I haven't experienced it, so I don't know. But what I do know is that he's being highly praised, John Pelletier, for the Vegas shooting by Maui. They were saying that he is a fit candidate. We want to hire him solely for transparency and making the MPD, which is the Maui Police Department, a better place for people to work at. And he got in there December of 2021. 50 days after he got hired, he got a 29% increase in a raise. They said that he was doing such a good job and he was so fit for the position, and what he was doing, they wanted to continue that. So I'm going to be looking down periodically because this is where I have my notes at, okay? I don't just remember 15, 20, 30 minutes of stuff off the top of my head. I like to read notes. And this is stuff that I have pulled from some articles. This is what some stuff that locals have sent me, and just things that I have researched online from the Las Vegas Police Department, over there in Maui as well. So we talked about John Pelletier being the chief of police in Maui and how he was in charge of the 2017 Las Vegas shooting, okay? A lot of people are still saying that remains a mystery as to how it was handled. Hundreds of people were injured, and it was an absolute tragedy. Now, bumping up to him getting hired and him moving out to Maui, supposedly his wife is a local in Hawaii, and that's why they, I guess it kind of ended up moving him out there, okay? I'm not saying that was the sole purpose, but they wanted him to go out there in general. It's just like it, for some people it doesn't make sense, and it's, I guess, like a coincidence that he went from one tragedy to another. Now, granted, I mean, that is some horrible bad luck, or it is a coincidence, okay? So when he got out there, when Josh Green came in to his position, there's this bill called the HB 869, okay? It was passed January 23rd of this year, just 1 month after Josh Green took office. What does the HB 69 say? What does it do? What does it mean? Well, in the very first section, if you read that, the legislature says that the coroners should be separate from law enforcement and free to make independent judgments when investigating deaths. So under that state law over there, the chief of police for a county serves as the coroner if the county does not have a medical examiner, making coroners independent from law enforcement. Now, if you remember a couple minutes ago, I was saying they wanted to hire him for transparency. This is what they're talking about. They're saying that it also avoids conflict of interest and encourages more confidence in coroners' rulings. So keep going about him being the coroner and reporting these deaths and what have it. Now, he also stated that the fire melted metal. Now, a couple of the posts that I did, there's a lot of people freaking out left and right saying I was wrong. A ton of people, I have emails and messages all over of people like thanking me for speaking up on it. And that's awesome. I'm not here to cause any kind of controversy. I'm not here for likes, not here for the follows. If you feel that I'm doing a good job and you follow, then that's great. And I must be doing something right, because we're all of us together, we're over 18,000 followers, which is awesome. Almost 19,000 at the time of this video. Okay, so it's nothing to brag about. It's just the fact of like, we are all on the same page together, and we want to shed light on this and bring it out to the surface. Okay, now if you look up wildfires, they typically get as hot as 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit. I think aluminum melts at like 1,200 degrees. I might have to pull it up, but it's just going to be too late once I'm making this video, so you can comment down below. Obviously there's plastic in cars, other kinds of metals, and yes, that stuff is going to burn inside of a car, I understand. But as far as like metal, certain kinds of metal, obviously talking steel in some of these vehicles, of course, or in a lot of the vehicles, it takes 2,200 to 2,700 degrees Fahrenheit for this stuff to burn. I also want to point out that people were talking about the winds from the hurricane. If you look up the Doppler radar, you look at the atmospheric pressure, and you look at the radar in general, that hurricane was over 500 to 800 miles away. Now, there's a lot of people, I'm not like an expert on this stuff, but when you look it up for yourself and you see and you do the research, it's not hard to Google and to find out and read multiple sources. The winds of over 800 miles away from a hurricane, even if it's category 5, will not travel that far to the island at even 30 to 40 mile an hour winds. Now, some locals have told me that winds coming down over the hills and the mountains over there do get pretty gnarly, but that hurricane was way too far away for it to touch base on that island. So I don't have the answer for that, okay? A lot of people are still confused as to what happened because they got hit with a monstrosity of things. So let's go back to Pelletier here. So he was talking about how the fire melted metal. I don't buy it. And of course, there's the thing out there. It's just science, right? 2200 to 2700 degrees Fahrenheit is not going to melt those. And there was a lot of spot burns everywhere, which people were saying that it's just, a coincidence again, in that sense of why there's like random spot burns in neighborhoods, in like complete circles around homes, which you can look at the footage. You can go online and find it if it hasn't been stripped yet. So then here comes the popular blue color, right? There was multiple blue cars. I think I've seen in total maybe 2 or 3 blue cars that weren't burned. Even the tires on some of them weren't even melted. The windows were fine. Yet other cars were melted to the ground into the asphalt. You see the aluminum melted into the ground as well. So there's a lot of, I guess it is a conspiracy as opposed to the color blue. I know there's 2 different laser tests done on different colors, and once these 2 different kind of lasers with the frequency hit the blue color, it stopped working, but it shredded through all the other colors. So you have that going on. Now, with Pelletier being in charge of the police department and in the power of investigations of the deaths because he's the coroner, okay, there is a lot of people are calling like a sinister, like cynical interest here that he has over the ruling from what Josh Green passed earlier this year in January. Now, families were living in a small 5.7 square mile. So people are also saying that the number of children living in that area, people should be able to figure out, because they had to report the first names, the last names, the ages of the children, and how many in the families were missing, granted with, all the unfortunate deaths that happened. Now, to touch base further on John Pelletier's police force, if you watched my other video that I did, the interview with the local Kepa, one of his friends is an actual Maui Police Department officer who was off duty driving, trying to go get, I believe it was family members, trying to go rescue them. These people that were in unmarked cars, posing as policemen, wearing different color uniforms, he had driven through a barricade, and the policeman or policewoman that was outside was yelling at him, saying, like, stop, you can't do this, we're going to call the police. And he said, I thought you were the police. So there were police plantees because it's an island. Kepa mentioned that everybody knows each other, which I completely buy that, because it's an island, it's a small island. You got like one road in and out essentially of that area. They said they know all the policemen, they know their routes, they know their shifts, and they can find anybody they want to within a couple hours, depending on where they are, if they left their home or not, okay? So a lot of these people were blocking off the roads. There's so much stuff out there you can find confirming that. People have sent me videos that I've posted, people have sent me pictures, and they were sending people in a circle, and they were blocking people inside of here, essentially trying to cook everybody in this circle of fire. One of the guys that messaged me, I'm not going to say his name, he was going to come on the podcast, but he kind of ghosted in that sense. But I'm not trying to make or push or have him come on, but he said that there were 0 police, 0 firefighters. He said if there's all these burned cars inside, he said, why aren't there any burned police cars or burned fire trucks or anything like that? He said nobody was there to help him. The videos that he sent to me, I did post online. He was 10 feet, 12 feet away from the fire, thought he was going to die. A restaurant blew up literally across the street from where he lived, and he got hit in the head with parts of the explosion from the building. It's a scary time, and to be trapped inside of here and be blockaded by police. Those fake police were giving the typical normal police a bad rap, because some of them weren't working, and they were also trying to go around and help people and rescue people, which you can find out in that episode as well. Now, on the ground over there were more than 500 FEMA personnel on the ground, with 270 Red Cross workers and 400 Hawaii National Guard members, and there were close to 200 U.S. Army reservists. Now, with all this stuff going on, if you look before that, they also hired 60 insurance agents for that area alone 3 weeks before the fire happened. Why would they do that? Your guess is as good as mine. Super skeptical. And a lot of the insurance companies were refusing to pay out because a couple of reasons. Some of the locals that told me about their homes getting destroyed, they said that the insurance companies and FEMA, the local, I guess like part of the local government, they will not let people go back to their homes. They have to do the inspection on their homes before they can even get an answer. So most people that get hit by these fires had to leave the state. Some went with other families. Some were, bunked up 9 families into a home, 9 people into a home because of what was going on. There's also a video online that I will try to get, and if I don't put the link in here, when I do get it, I will post it to Instagram on one of the reels. But it shows Chief Pelletier's police force arresting locals right now that set up tents in the area to try to stay on their land or with their home, and they were getting arrested and getting hauled off the area, which is absolutely crazy to me. Now, you can perceive it whichever way you want to perceive it. I just don't think it's right. It's a huge land grab. Going back to police Pelletier and everything going on. Now, a gentleman reached out to me that went through the academy with Chief Pelletier and gave me some information, okay? Now, I did read a couple of the links, and they checked out on the people right here, and you can look it up on the Las Vegas Police Department.gov, I believe. But this is what was on there. This part I'm going to read to you isn't from the Las Vegas, but this is from the gentleman himself that went through the academy with Pelletier. So Pelletier's rise to fame started after his 3rd shooting. He then entered the academy and became an instructor along with a guy named Andy Walsh, who was also an academy instructor and or caster. He was also an academy instructor under the supervision of the sergeant at the time, Kevin. And then let's fast forward. This is what he says. Kevin McMahill is now the sheriff in Las Vegas, and Walsh is the undersheriff along with Sasha Caster. That's what he was referring to as the caster. Pelletier was pulled up by 2 of them to rank as captain and then was recruited to work as the Maui police chief. He took with him a deputy chief by the name of Charles Hank. You can look this up. Charles Hank, who was a real racist piece of crap, is what he said, while he worked for Las Vegas Police Department, and they covered up domestic violence. So if you go look up Kevin McMahill, you can find all this. I might have it pulled up right here. Domestic violence where he beat his wife, and then that they responded and no paperwork was ever filed against Charles Hank. Charles Hank was then accused of racism and racist slurs while under Chief Pelletier in Maui and Hawaii. It's just weird that he is with the bad apples and he takes them with him. He was in a horrific event in 2017 and then all of a sudden comes into another one in 2023 after they passed that HB law 869. Let me scroll down here. Yeah, HB 869. Okay. Now, also, before the fire happened, I want to say maybe 3 weeks, they passed the emergency proclamation. Okay. Which is, you can look at it whichever way you want. This is extremely obvious. Okay. As to how they set all this up, especially with John Pelletier in there. Okay. Now, what I was telling you about them getting arrested, they were setting up temporary camps with their families so that way they can live there, okay? Let's see here. So if you're looking at it, they were saying that the statute 841-1 is what I was referring to, that also ties into HB 869, which allows him to be the coroner medical examiner for all this stuff going on. Now, a lot of people are very upset. They don't have any answers. I don't have the answers. I try to help. All I can do is reach out to the locals and try to bring any of this to light for people to have answers. I'm going to continue to make episodes and try to touch base on this stuff for you guys. I'm going to try to make anywhere from like 10 to 20, maybe 10 to 25 minute podcasts for you guys. Now, this is still ongoing stuff, and I promise I'm going to continue to try to reach out and get numbers for these kids and get numbers for these families. It's just, now that you have this EPA spray going on that Chief Pelletier was working with Josh Green in the state over there, now they're spraying this stuff on the ground, which apparently makes it inhabitable for 2 to 5 years. And in that time frame, these people can't live there. They can't essentially rebuild on top of it. So what they're trying to do is Chief Pelletier, Green, and everybody else in that government entity, they're trying to move people to the big island, to Pahoa. They're trying to move them over there because it's already set up to essentially accommodate all these people. That way they can come in behind them, do the land grab, set up distribution, set up development. They're wanting to push this. They're wanting to push this smart city. They've already got 200,000 solar panels in the center of Maui, up on the mountains or the hills out there. I think it was like the old sugarcane fields. So this is ongoing. They've had the jet fuel spill at Red Hill. They've had the fire suppression spill at Red Hill. They've had the coolant spill on Mauna Kea, and then the diesel spill in Maui. There is so much stuff going on that they're trying to do everything they can to control the local people and their sacred land, and it's not right. So thank you for tuning in. Please comment below. Like I said, just bear with me as I'm kind of up and down with my notes here. And I may not have touched base on everything, which is fine. Don't eat me up over it. Like I said, I try to keep these podcasts within a certain time frame. And, bring something else up that I can bring up as a topic, and I can come back for part 2 on this stuff. But it seems like John Pelletier, in my opinion, is apparently not that good of a person, and I don't think it is right for him to use the 2017 way he handled the Vegas shooting and hundreds of people getting hurt and over 58 people dying as a high praise as to he can handle things in a gruesome situation, in that the people in Maui thought he was a great fit, hired him, and then after 50 days gave him a 29% increase. Is absolutely insane to me. So again, thank you guys, and I will catch you on the next one on part 2, and just look forward to communicating with you guys across social media, mainly Instagram and YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, like, comment, share this. Let's get it out to everybody. And as always, I appreciate you guys' support.